Why are some people who are diagnosed with cancer treated with chemotherapy and others aren't? And immunotherapy sounds really great. How come everybody isn't on that? These are some of the biggest questions I had when I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer, and they're pretty important, so let's talk about it. So, cancer is very, very complicated, and all of the different types of cancer are very different from one another. So, for example, you don't treat breast cancer the same way that you treat kidney cancer. Each cancer themselves are very different from one another, but so are the subtypes within that cancer. So let's take a look at kidney cancer, for example. So kidney cancer typically isn't treated with cytotoxic chemotherapy, which is what most people think of when they think of chemo. And that's not because they haven't tried it, they did those studies years ago. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work very well in kidney cancer, so they've turned to other treatment options. Worth noting, a few of the really rare types of kidney cancers have used cytotoxic chemotherapy. And it does work for those specific types, which highlights just how different each of these tumors are. So the treatment used most often in kidney cancer is immunotherapy. The other common one is TKIs. Sometimes they call them chemo pills, but it's not the same as cytotoxic chemotherapy. So immunotherapy has worked great for clear cell, the most common type of kidney cancer, but it doesn't work for all the subtypes. So for example, chromophobe kidney cancer doesn't typically respond to immunotherapy. That's one of the more rare types of kidney cancer, and even though I don't have chromophobe kidney cancer myself, it's the one that my tumor is most like. So why doesn't immunotherapy work in these tumors? It does sometimes, it's just not super common. So why is this? So they're still trying to pinpoint all the reasons behind this, but it all comes back to the fact that all these tumors, again, are just so different from one another. And you have to pick the right treatment for the right tumor. A super abstract way I like to think about this is imagining somebody with a peanut allergy. I can give that person a chocolate chip cookie and it'll be delicious, but I would not want to give them a peanut butter cookie. They're both cookies and I might be able to eat them both, but that's really not going to be a great idea for them. That's super abstract, but we're going to roll with it. So there's still tons of research trying to predict who will and won't respond to immunotherapy, but they have noticed some trends, and there's always more research coming out to help us understand why. Which leads me to some research that was presented at ASCO, a large cancer conference, a couple weeks ago. I was really happy to see this study because there's not a ton of research on chromophobe kidney cancer. But this study was focused on taking a look at the tumor microenvironment for chromophobe kidney cancer and other oncocytic tumors. Mine, an oncocytoma, is also an oncocytic tumor. So one thing that they've noticed as they've done immunotherapy trials is that chromophobe kidney cancer doesn't typically respond super well. And one of the reasons is suspected to be the tumor microenvironment, highlighted in this study. What they found in this study is that chromophobe and other oncocytic tumors don't have a lot of immune cells in the tumor microenvironment. I kind of like to think of them as like players on a ball field. Clear cell has lots of players, so you just need to ramp them up and they can play the game. But chromophobe doesn't even have any players on the ball field. So when you give immunotherapy, there's not a game for them to play. Another abstract example, studies like this help us get closer to the answer.